Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Juicy. We're going to be covering the Sun Belt Conference Softball Tournament coming up this week and the SEC Tournament for softball coming up this week. Without further ado, let me introduce everybody. It's my co-host, Juicy. How you doing tonight, Juicy?
Awesome. How you doing, bro?
We are doing very well over here. Just chilling out and relaxing and that kind of thing here. So let's dive into it here. So we got conference tournaments here. The Cajuns, we're going to start off with them first in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. Here they are the number one seed. And that's going to be something interesting to talk about here. They did dominate ULM. We were there covering the game there on, was that Thursday, Juicy, or was that Friday? I think it was Friday. It was Friday we went there. And what impressed you about the Cajuns during that series?
They were just dominant on all aspects of the game. They look really good on offense, of course. I will put an asterisk that we're playing UL Monroe. It's not exactly, I would say elite competition, but anything can happen on the day in softball. But nonetheless, they look good and look sharp as they have in most of their conference games.
Yeah, the Cajuns have only lost 2 conference games. So once you break down that right there down, very well dominant in this conference, have been for a very long time. We looked at the wall in Lansing Park. I don't know if y'all have ever been there, but if they have a wall. They have all their tournament appearances and their conference championships, and you kind of get taken back. Like I've been to many games over there, and you just look at it, and it's like since 1990, the Cajuns were just this machine.
They only missed the NCAA tournament once since 1990. Well, excluding the COVID year.
Yeah, but COVID won that year. So basically, the Cajuns are going to play the winner of Game 2, which the Game 2 matchup that's going to happen Wednesday, May 10th, is going to be ULM versus Georgia State. Both teams are over 8-9 seed teams here. Only the top 10 seeds get into the Sun Belt softball tournament. So the last one backing up the rear in the Sun Belt seeding is Southern Miss. That is Game 1. That they kick off at 1 o'clock at Lansing Park there. So it goes through May 10th, May 13th. So the Cajuns can play the winner of Game 2. So if I had to pick who wins out of that one, I don't think I'm gonna go with Georgia State. I think Georgia State beats ULM in that game there, and I think they'll take on the Cajuns. Now, if you're probably wondering, okay, so how good are some of these teams here, and what is it, right? How good are both these teams here? So to put all this in perspective, we have a very handy tool that we like to use here, and it is called the RPI format here, which at this point of the season is very big for your team because you're looking at how well you rank up. Like, for example, Southeastern's on this list at 60. So I would consider them kind of on the bubble here, even though they got a 41-12 record. They're kind of on that bubble here. Now, if you look at both the teams that we pay attention to, Louisiana Ragin Cajuns are at number 10 and LSU's at number 8. Now, barring anything happening in these tournament plays here, I think the Cajuns should be one of the top 16 teams that host. I'll go on record in saying that right now. I think they have a good enough resume. Their strength of schedule is solid in the top 10 in the country. And just all around here, they have a very good chance to host. I also think LSU should host as well. But because the Cajuns have played a lot of these Power 5 teams, they should have beaten some of these teams here. They've played Florida. They've beaten LSU. They've played Texas. They went out there and challenged themselves, and that's something that you can't ask anymore of any other team there. So that's just something you have to look at here. And they have beaten Florida. Florida's 21 right there. So it's like, do you think the Cajuns are there to host, Juicy? Unless I'm completely wrong on this.
Well, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that both LSU and UL are gonna host. I mean, like I brought the example. I know you said they both Power Five conferences, but nonetheless, with the Duke North Carolina example, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say they'll both host. I mean, both of them really have the resume. Both of them pretty much have the same resume to host. To be a hosting team. I'm not saying a top 8 seed, but they both definitely deserve a top 16 seed.
Yeah, I'm not really saying top 8. I don't think the Cajuns are going to. LSU or the Cajuns, for that matter, should host in a top 8 situation. I don't think LSU's done good enough in conference play to warrant that regard there, because you have a lot of SEC teams that are kind of like behind them a little bit here, and I just don't think they have enough for that top 8 consideration. But that's further down the line. I think that's going to, like, after the tournament's done, we'll talk about it next week. They'll do their selection Sunday, and we'll figure out where everybody's going and what's going to happen here. So I think LSU and the Cajuns are both looking at a top 16 seed here, and I think they both deserve to host. I think it's really hard with both these resumes to factor one in over there. There's one that's going to be hosting for sure, and that's Oklahoma, without a doubt in my mind here. So that is something we're going to have to keep track of and see how all that works here. But, like, it's interesting to me, though. Like, it really is. That is one thing we have to keep track of. So the Cajuns here, they start playing Wednesday. Okay, like, no, not Wednesday, Thursday. Excuse me there, because I was looking, I was like, oh, I was thinking of the ULM Georgia State game. So they play the winner of those two teams there. So Georgia State will take on Louisiana or ULM, depending on who they win. I think the Cajuns win whoever they play against. I don't think it matters if they're ULM or Georgia State. The Cajuns are getting to at least the semis, I think. But this is a one and done kind of thing here. So if you win, you lose, you're out of there. There's no double elimination or anything. You win, you advance, you lose, you go home. So the Cajuns would play the winner here if they won Game 6, which would put them in Game 8, which is at 7 o'clock on a Friday. So Game 6, Game 5, and so Game 5 would be Troy and Texas State. They're going to play one of those two teams there in the semifinals, and they're both a 4 and 5 seed. So Marshall is the number 2 seed. They'll play the winner of Game 1. That's either going to be Cold Store or Southern Miss. So, regardless, though, to sum everything up, I think the Cajuns win the whole entire thing. I don't think there's a team in the Sun Belt that can. Here's the thing: they've lost twice. I think they know what's at stake here, and I think they're going to be able to pull that out and win the Sun Belt Conference Tournament once again this year. What do you think, Juicy?
For sure, I think they'll definitely at least make it to the semis, but there's no reason why there's no reason why as dominant as they can, losing only 2 games the whole season in college play. There's no reason why they're not obviously favored, and there's no reason why they shouldn't win the tournament. To be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's the big question. Now let's go with this scenario here, because I want your opinion on this. What if the Cajuns would lose, and let's say if they win their first game and they lose in the semifinals? Do you think that's going to knock them out in hosting a regional? Because they're going to be in a regional. They're going to go to the regionals. They've done enough. They won the regular season Sun Belt Championship.
And their record and their RPI is both good enough that they're locked. I think they're locked for the tournament no matter what happens.
Yeah, but do you think if they, let's say they lose in the semis, okay, to Texas State or whatever, do they still host, or do you think they have to win the conference tournament to host?
I wouldn't say they have to win the conference tournament. I would even say I think they would probably even be okay winning one game, getting to the semis, and losing in the semis. If they make it, I mean, losing to the semis, I still give it a 50-50 shot if they make it to if they're the runner up in the tournament. If they either runner up or the champion, I think they guarantee the host. But if they lose, if they somehow drop that first game, then I for sure think they'll.
So yeah, you think they have to win the first game at least to beat?
I think they're doing their first game to have a chance. If they lose their first game, then yeah, I don't think they'll have a chance.
Yeah, here I'm a lot more pessimistic than you about that because of just how the Power Five is. The Power Five make the most money. They have the biggest budget, so it's kind of like okay, so they definitely have a influence there. I think the Cajuns have to win the tournament to host. I don't think there's a way that you can look at it and be like Cajuns are 43-13. Like I mentioned before, they're 22-2 in the Sun Belt Conference this year. Now, if you want to get down to their nitty gritty of what they actually do here, of this kind of stuff here, they let's go look at their like little list you got here. So I love these numbers here. So RPI, they're a 10, okay? Non-conference RPI, they're 8. Their strength of schedule is number 14 in the country. Non-conference, their strength of schedule is a 3. And their non-conference record, if you want to break it down, they were 21-11 in non-conference. Now against RPI teams 1 through 25, they're 2-10. 26 through 50, they're 12-1. So I think a 16 host seed, I think that's good enough for them to be put in that situation. You're considering if you try to look at other schools that they played against. I want to pull up. They lost both times to Texas. They beat LSU one of the two times. They beat Ole Miss. They lost to Florida State. They almost beat UCLA. Almost beat Arkansas. They came close to winning a couple of these. Michigan. They beat Indiana. They've beaten these teams. Like they have a good resume built up here. So they've beaten Florida. Florida, I think, is the one I need to kind of look at here because let's look at this real quick here. Let me look and see who's like close in that 16 RPI spot. So you got Arkansas at 13, Alabama's at 11, Washington's at 14, Georgia's 15, Oregon is 16. I want to look at. Let me see. I know they didn't play Oregon this year, but I think let me see where Florida's at. I think if Florida's kind of close, that would be kind of a good comparison of someone they played against. Florida's 21. I don't think Florida hosts though. I think they're kind of a little too far out of that range.
Florida hurt themselves when they lost Texas.
Yeah, so I'll pull up Florida just to kind of get like an idea. They're 11-13 in Southeastern Conference play. So Florida, on the other hand, is 6-12 against 1 through 25 RPI teams. The Cajuns beat this team. Okay, so the RPI is 19. Their strength of schedule is 6. Non-conference 34. Non-conference RPI is 17. So they're 8-6 and 26 through 50. They're 6-12 in the 1 through 25. So they got a better 1 through 25 record than the Cajuns do, which Cajuns ain't looking too hot in that 1 through 25 regard. But I think the committee might overlook that and give them a whole spot because of how like they have a good enough schedule this year where it's like like they're not getting hammered as much as Sun Belt Conference has even improved them softball a little bit, to the not to the confidence of what I like to put it at right there. Not as nearly as good as the baseball side of the conference, but in softball. They definitely improved a little bit there, but because James Madison quality program, and that's one thing in Texas State. It's always good, but you see, Caden swept these teams. They swept James Madison. The only teams that have beaten him in the Sun Belt Conference this year, one I was shocked about this one, App State. Number 2 team to have done that was an opener against Troy, but that game was on the road. And the App State game was actually at home, but it was a double header. You're not going to have that same thing happen. So the Cajuns played Florida and they played Rutgers. They split Florida. So it's like okay, what you think about it, right? So I think Cajuns end up hosting if they win. I think they have to win the tournament, though. That's my opinion on it.
Like I said, I'm gonna say a runner-up should be a guaranteed lock at least.
But who you think? Who you think wins the Sun Belt Conference Tournament, Juicy?
I mean, I have to stick with UL winning the whole tournament. I mean, it wouldn't be I don't think you wouldn't think anybody else would favor.
So, we're gonna switch gears now. We're gonna go talk about LSU softball here. They are going to the SEC tournament after playing a doubleheader against Georgia today.
They played May 10th at 10 a.m. the first game against Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's actually at 11 a.m. Well, unless this is Eastern time. They didn't specify what this was. Let me go on that.
They didn't get the first.
They got they got that number 6. But like LSU, they're like 500 in conference play, I think, if I remember right. I didn't quite look at the record right before there. Let's see. I'm pulling up the actual SEC tournament. So yeah. So yeah, 10 o'clock Central Time. It was Eastern Time. That's what I figured it was. Anyway, so they're 13-11. They're 13-11 in SEC conference play. They're going to take on Ole Miss. I think LSU beats Ole Miss. In that first round here. Now, what can stop LSU from hosting, you think, Juicy? Or you think they're a lock to host?
Well, I'm not going to say they're guaranteed lock the host because, like, they're sitting there ranked at number 16, which is right on the edge. I mean, the RPI is good, but dropping Ole Miss could hurt the RPI a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna say they're a lock for at least a number 2 seed in a regional if they don't win a game in the tournament. But I think all they have to do is win one game, and I think if at least they win one game, I think they'd be pretty much a guarantee to host.
I do think because Ole Miss is 29-25, they're 8-16 in conference play. LSU 13-11 in conference play. I think LSU does take care of business against Ole Miss, and I'm pretty confident in that pick. But they got Auburn waiting on them right there. So the top 4 seeds for the tournament is Tennessee, Georgia, Auburn, and Arkansas. That's your top 4 that LSU is going to have to deal with here. And so I think LSU beats Ole Miss. LSU goes play against Auburn on Thursday, and I think Auburn ends up beating them.
But that becomes a double elimination round.
Yeah. Depending on Texas A&M and South Carolina, you got all those as well. That's the thing. So LSU plays against Auburn. Getting out of the quarters and the semis and that kind of thing here, it's kind of tough. The winner of the tournament will receive an automatic bid, of course, to the thing. But I think a lot of those teams in there,
a lot of the teams in the SEC tournament alone are probably going to be 2 and 3 seeds in a regional.
the next time, here's a fun fact. What year do you think LSU hosts the next SEC softball tournament, Juicy?
What year do I think?
Yeah.
Probably next year.
That means you're wrong. It is in 2027. Next year, they're going to be going to Georgia.
Where's that like this year?
They're going to Fayetteville, Arkansas.
So they just take turns going all the SEC teams.
They do. It rotates to all 13 schools with future sites set for Georgia, Auburn, Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, then at Ole Miss.
Fair enough. That's one way to do it. Just each school take a turn.
It's a single elimination format.
Oh, so it's no double elimination at all then.
Nope.
Oh, that's only baseball that's double elimination.
Yeah, so LSU plays Ole Miss. LSU should beat Ole Miss. They will play Auburn at 10 a.m. If they were to beat Auburn, they would move to Friday and play Game 10 against the winners of Game 6 and Game 7, which Game 6 would have been LSU. Game 7 would be the winner of Georgia, and whoever wins Game 3, which is Texas A&M and South Carolina. So you could almost pencil in Georgia, I'm thinking, right there. I think Georgia makes it there in the semis. And then if you win, you go to the championship game, which if you make it to the semis, ESPN2 is where you'll see the action at. But I don't think LSU gets out of Thursday. I think they'll lose to Auburn, is my prediction. What you got, Juicy?
I agree with you. I think they'll lose to Auburn. I mean, you never know. You get. I mean, but I was gonna say you never know in these tournaments. You get, it's only one game, and anything can happen in just one game. Thing or one game match. It's not like a whole series, so you never know. I mean, on paper, we say what we see on paper and what we see throughout the year, but that don't mean that there's not going to be some surprises sometimes.
That's what makes these ball and stick sports so great, because we keep bringing this up every single week, because I think it's something that we have to keep track of, and I think it's something that is fun. Like this weekend, right? Speaking of craziness that happened, Auburn beat LSU in a baseball series, but we're not going to talk about that just yet. The Louisiana Ragin Cajuns swept UOM this past weekend here, and they won all 3 games. But like I said, there's no reason why they shouldn't even have swept them anyway. I mean, they should have easily swept them, but it hasn't been the case for the kids.
Too little, too late for UO baseball.
I think it's too little, too late. But I think the outside chance that they get an at-large bid would be they're going to have to sweep, and this is a tall order, Texas State and Southern Miss. You're talking about trying to sweep a team that's RPI is 38 and a team RPI of 23 between both of them. At least they get Texas State at home, but they got to beat Louisiana Tech on the road. They're going to have to beat. They're 143. Cajuns should be able to beat them, but like I said, it's a midweek game. You're not going to throw your ace in there, but you got to get your guys in the right spot. The problem with the Cajuns this year consistently has been inconsistency with the pitching staff, and I just don't think the Cajuns have the arms this year to go make a deep run, because I think that's a problem. I think that's even a problem with LSU as well. Besides Paul Skeens, LSU has a little bit of inconsistency with their number 2 and number 3 guy. They had to take out their Friday. Like Jake Hamill was the Friday night guy. Now they got Cooper Rawls being the Friday night guy. Just stuff like that. Just inconsistent play from. And Rawls seems like to be the best guy on that whole staff. It seems like he gets out there and does work. But Texas State and Southern Miss, that's a tall order. I don't think they get it done there. I got them losing the series against Texas State.
Yeah,
I got 1 win and like 2 losses at home. I think they'll beat Louisiana Tech, but I can't trust the Cajuns. I cannot trust the Cajuns baseball team. They're too inconsistent for me to trust them. I mean, if I felt confident, I'd be like, they're going to do this.
They're even going to make the Sun Belt tournament.
Well, here's the thing. They moved up a good bit in the Sun Belt Conference standings here. So if you want to bring this up here, because this is actually – they only take 10 teams, okay, in the tournament. So in your top 10, you have the 10 seed, and it's at Riverwalk Stadium. There's 10 teams. So the Cajuns right now, if you look at the standings of baseball right now, they're currently number 4, tied with Georgia Southern. Okay, I want you to remember Georgia Southern, because this is very important here. Georgia Southern, Georgia Southern's important to follow up here, because the Cajuns did not play Georgia Southern. But they're slotted ahead of them. I think it might be broken up by overall record is what I think it does. Whatever, regardless, I think the Cajuns are going to drop, okay? So, because mathematically, they're still alive to win the regular season Sunbelt Championship. They're only 3 games back from Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina. So they got 6 games left. So the Cajuns got to play Southern Miss. So they need to sweep them, and they're going to play Texas State, which is 1 spot ahead of them in the conference. Coastal has to play South Alabama and Marshall. And let's see here. I'm trying to see where all these guys are at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Georgia State's right there, tied with South Alabama. South Alabama's got to fight. They're going to have to fight to win to get a spot in that tournament. They're going to compete for it. So we know what the 10 teams are going to be. All Georgia State and South Alabama's got to do is win 1 conference game, and they have clinched a spot in the tournament. Now, the contrast with that is between 1st and 10th seed, literally 6 games separates the 10th seed from the number 1 seed. Are tied.
That's only the top to get in, huh?
The top 10 get in the conference. Arkansas State ain't going to make it. ULM's not going to make it, and Marshall's not going to make it. So Coastal should sweep Marshall. They're 5-19 in the conference. Not much to cheer about over there in Marshall. So one thing we got to look at here now, look at the Cajuns RPI. Is a 76. I like going through the predicted results to see what happens here. Let's see what it says now. So we only have, in this scenario, they get up to 54. Now, I want to see what games they have the Cajuns baseball team winning here because I'm curious here. All right, so it has them sweeping Texas State.
That's pretty aggressive.
Louisiana, they have them dropping Louisiana Tech game, sweeping Texas State, losing the series at Southern Miss. They got them winning 1 and losing 2. So in this scenario, if it plays out that way, the Cajuns have an RPI of 54. They're 36-20. Their strength of schedule is 55. Non-conference RPI is 38. And their non-conference strength of schedule is 79, which I don't think that's good enough to get it that large. You're right there on that bubble, I think, though.
That would be a bubble.
That's definitely a bubble situation there, and you don't want to be in that situation. Like I said, you want to guarantee yourself a spot, sweeps Texas State and Southern Miss. That's just a win, baby.
Just win the conference tournament.
If you want to get a spot, just win the conference tournament as well. That's another way to get in. But that's a tough task itself to even handle with anyway, because you got to just win these guys, right? So back with this championship schedule we got here. So here's a little tinker with it here real quick. So there's a little bit of a good thing with being a number 1 seed that people haven't talked about. If you're the number 1 seed of the Sun Belt Conference baseball tournament, guess what? They can select what time they want to play the game. Now they have so Wednesday, the way they have this thing laid out here, at 9 o'clock, the number 6 seed takes on number 3 seed. The game 4 to be decided. That's from the first day. That's from Tuesday. It all getting kicked off with 7 and a 10 and 8 versus 9. The number 2 seed is to be decided what happens there. So the number 4 seed and the number 1 seed may get swapped around. So right now, if the number 1 seed feels comfortable playing at 7:30, they can choose 7:30 over the 4 o'clock time slot. If they would choose 4 o'clock, number 4 seed would go down to the to be decided. So probably, I guess, unless you want to get rid of the competition earlier, you could take on the number 5 seed, or you could wait and see who wins out of. I think the lower seed plays. I mean, the higher seed plays number 2. So, say if 7, let's say if 9 and 7 win. Okay, 9 plays 1, 7 will play 2. Likewise, if 10 won, they would go to number 1, play number 1, and or number 8 or whatever. If 9 wins or 8 wins, they play the higher seed of 10 were to win. So it just depends on how all that shakes out. We can go here all night long just talking about that, but that's just way too much. But like, okay, this goes like that, but it is fun playing a scenario game every once in a while. So juicy. We don't know where the Cajuns are at in baseball, but that is something we got to look forward to look at. We're not going to get too much into the Sun Belt Conference here because we still got a whole 2 weeks. Well, technically, yeah, we got about 2 weeks until we start that. So, what you think about this Texas State series? I got the Cajuns winning 1 of 3. I just don't. They're not consistent enough for me to feel comfortable making this pick to win the series.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I mean, I hate that we have to agree so much, but I mean, I'd be lying. I'd be lying to our listeners and to myself if I believed that UL was consistent enough to beat Texas State 2 out of 3. I have to. I'm skeptical they're going to win 1, but I'll give them 1 game.
I think the Cajuns will win 1, but we're done talking about the Cajun baseball team. Let's move on to LSU baseball. They took on Auburn this past weekend, dropped 2 of 3, got 10-run rule today over Auburn. They're gonna take on Northwestern State. 3-game series against Mississippi State. They should sweep Mississippi State. I think they should sweep them and beat.
A bottom dweller.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them this year. I got them winning their next 4 games for sure. Then they got McNeese in Georgia, but we'll save that for next week. But as far as the Tigers go, they're looking pretty good in terms of making a regional. They're definitely going to be in a regional for sure.
It does hurt that they lost the series to Auburn, but Auburn was coming off of a series where they South Carolina the weekend before.
Yeah, or like I talk about one of these teams getting hot. This is exactly the situation we were talking about. One of these teams getting real hot and making one of these runs. This is the time of year that you got to watch these teams because they win one series like Auburn's riding a high right now, but did they peak too early? That's the question. They'll have to wait and see about that.
It's their 3rd weekend series they won in a row.
So, but the predicted record for LSU is 44-11, with an RPI of 7 and a strength of schedule of 10.
You remember the beginning of the season when we were going through the schedule, I predicted them to finish 45-11.
You did.
I did, yeah.
You're close. You're close. So we got a sweep and miss.
The game against South Carolina.
The Mississippi State series, right? It's got them sweeping, like I predicted.
Yeah, I got them sweeping that. They should.
They got a 2 they got it predicting 2 of 3 against Georgia, which I could see that happening.
Yeah, but you got to watch Georgia too because they swept Arkansas this year.
Yeah, so no, and it's a road game. It's a road series, so everybody trying to jog for positioning within the SEC tournament brackets.
But all top 5 teams drop the series this weekend. So
yeah, I know. I saw that. I thought that was real interesting to see how all that was playing out there. I'm like, what happened this week? Must be something in the water going on or something. Or I think teams might be feeling the heat turn up a good bit here, and they're trying to make a playoff push, like a NCAA regional push, make their pad their resume.
Well,
that's what it looks like to me.
Auburn's padding that resume. They got South Carolina and LSU back to back.
Now, I want to see how much their RPI jumped up after the LSU win. It says up 6 since May 1st. Their live RPI right now is 28.
Yeah, it's jumped up.
Yeah. Interesting how all that works. They got the number 6 toughest schedule in the country.
Put them in a good chance to make a regional now.
Definitely. So, do you see anything else you want to talk about before we get off the air here?
I think that's it. We covered it.
All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio. We're keeping y'all up to date here on all your Ragin Cajun updates here, along with, anything else that you would want to talk about. And anything else, you got any suggestion you want us to cover our topic here? Just, send us a DM and, give us some ideas. We're always willing to take on any ideas and just kind of see what y'all guys are thinking about out there. So anyway, follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're even on TikTok and YouTube as well. Thank y'all for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio. We're going to upload this to YouTube, put this on Facebook, see what y'all think about it. And, got any comments for us on how we can improve the show. And, we kind of give you all the information that we think is important to y'all. And that's what we try to do every single week to kind of keep y'all up to date here. I know it's a bunch of numbers we're throwing at y'all, but they're all important stuff that we think the NCAA regional thing is, what every team wants to go about. And that's championships are won at this time of year for baseball and softball. So that information is critical to seeing where your team will end up being at the end of their season there. Or will they make it or will they won't? That's why we do it. So thank y'all for tuning in. Hope you have a great and wonderful day. Have a good day, Fishbowl Nation.